The sickening crack echoed through the hallway as I hit the ground. Pain shot through my arm like lightning, and I knew immediately something was terribly wrong. Through tear-filled eyes, I looked up to see my sister Victoria standing at the top of the stairs, a satisfied smirk playing across her face. "That'll teach you to touch my things," she sneered, tucking a strand of perfect blonde hair behind her ear. I hadn't touched anything of hers. But that didn't matter to Victoria. At 17, 2 years my senior, she'd made it her mission to make my life miserable ever since Dad left 3 years ago. Mom called it processing her emotions. I called it torture. "Emily? Victoria? What was that noise?" Mom's voice carried from the kitchen. The panic in Victoria's eyes was instant. Emily fell down the stairs. Victoria called back, her voice dripping with fake concern. "She's so clumsy." I tried to speak to tell the truth, but the pain was overwhelming. Tears streamed down my face as I cradled my clearly broken arm. Mom rushed in, still wearing her cooking apron, and gasped at the sight. "Oh my God, Emily." She knelt beside me, her eyes wide with worry. But when she looked up at Victoria, something changed in her expression. What really happened? Victoria's lower lip trembled, a trick she perfected over the years. She was running down the stairs. "Mom." I tried to warn her to be careful. She pushed me. I managed through gritted teeth. She did it on purpose. Mom's face hardened. "Emily, don't start with these accusations. Your sister would never." But she did. I protested, wincing as another wave of pain hit me. "She's always hurting me when you're not looking." "That's enough." Mom's voice took on that familiar tone, the one that meant she'd already decided what the truth was. "Victoria, help me get your sister to the car. We need to go to the hospital." The drive to the emergency room was tense. Victoria sat in the back with me, maintaining her concerned sister act perfectly. Every time I tried to speak, Mom would cut me off with a sharp, "We'll discuss this later." In the emergency room, a young nurse gently examined my arm while taking notes. "How did this happen?" she asked, her kind eyes meeting mine. Before I could answer, Mom jumped in. She fell down the stairs. She was running and lost her balance. The nurse looked at me expectantly, but I could feel Mom's warning gaze. Victoria squeezed my good hand in what looked like comfort to others, but I felt her nails dig into my skin. "Is that what happened?" The nurse pressed, clearly noting my hesitation. I started, but Mom interrupted again. "Emily, tell the nice nurse how you fell." Just then, Dr. Harrison, the orthopedic surgeon, walked in reviewing my x-rays. He was an older man with gray hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. Something about his presence made me feel safer. "These images are concerning," he said, putting them up on the light board. "This type of break isn't consistent with a simple fall." Mom's breath caught. "What do you mean?" "The spiral fracture," he pointed to the x-ray, "typically occurs from a twisting force. It's commonly seen in what?" Victoria spoke up, her voice slightly higher than usual. "In cases where someone's arm has been forcefully twisted or grabbed during a fall." He finished, looking directly at me. "Emily, can you tell me exactly what happened?" The room fell silent. Mom's hand gripped the edge of her chair, and Victoria's confident facade cracked slightly. For the first time in years, I felt like someone might actually listen to me. "Doctor," Mom started, but Dr. Harrison held up his hand. "I'd like to hear from Emily, please." I took a deep breath, gathering every ounce of courage I had. The pain in my arm seemed to fuel my determination. Years of keeping quiet, of accepting Victoria's abuse and Mom's willful blindness, bubbled to the surface. "My sister pushed me," I said clearly, my voice stronger than I expected. "She twisted my arm and pushed me down the stairs because she thought I touched her things. But I didn't. She does this all the time, and nobody believes me." The silence that followed was deafening. Dr. Harrison nodded slowly, making notes in my chart. Mom's face had gone pale, and Victoria looked scared for the first time I could remember. "I need to make some calls," Dr. Harrison said calmly. "Emily, a social worker would like to speak with you. Alone." As he left the room, Mom burst into tears. "Emily, please," she begged. "It was just a sisterly fight. We can handle this at home." But looking at Dr. Harrison's retreating back, I knew this was different. Someone was finally going to listen. Someone was finally going to help. Victoria's perfect mask crumbled completely. "You little snitch," she hissed under her breath. but this time, I wasn't afraid. The truth was finally coming out, and my broken arm might just be the thing that breaks the cycle of abuse I'd endured for years. The social worker, Ms. Martinez, had kind eyes and a gentle voice that made me feel safe enough to tell her everything. We sat in a private consultation room while Mom and Victoria waited outside, their presence no longer looming over me. "This isn't the first time, is it?" Ms. Martinez asked, carefully documenting my words. I shook my head, feeling tears well up. "Victoria, she's been different since Dad left. At first, it was just mean comments and hiding my things. Then she started pushing me, pinching me when Mom wasn't looking. She'd tell everyone I was lying if I complained." I rolled up my sleeve with my good arm, revealing fading bruises. "Last week, she accidentally slammed my locker door on my hand at school. The teacher believed her when she said she didn't see me there." Ms. Martinez's pen moved steadily across her notepad. "And your mother? How does she respond when you tell her about these incidents?" I swallowed hard. "She doesn't want to see it. After Dad left, it's like she can't handle any more problems. She says I'm trying to get attention or that I'm jealous of Victoria. But I'm not. I just want it to stop." Just then, we'd heard a commotion outside. Victoria's voice carried through the door, high and hysterical. "This is ridiculous. She's making everything up. Mom, tell them." Ms. Martinez touched my shoulder gently. "You're safe here, Emily. Would you like to take a break?" I shook my head. Now that I'd started telling the truth, I couldn't stop. I told her about the accidents that always seemed to happen when no one was watching, about the threats Victoria made if I dared to tell anyone, about Mom's constant dismissal of my fears. "The worst part," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "is that sometimes I think Mom knows. She sees the bruises, the fear in my eyes, but she chooses to believe Victoria's lies because it's easier." Dr. Harrison joined us, bringing updated x-rays and a grim expression. "Emily, I've reviewed your medical history. There's a pattern here that concerns me greatly. Multiple unexplained injuries over the past 3 years, all documented as accidents." He spread the files on the table: a sprained wrist from tripping in the backyard, a mild concussion from falling against my desk, countless bruises and minor injuries that Mom had brushed off as my clumsiness. "This ends today," he said firmly. "We're mandated reporters, and we're filing a formal report." Outside, Mom's voice joined Victoria's protests. "You can't do this. We're a good family, we just need to work things out at home." But it was too late for that. Years of hidden abuse were finally coming to light, and no amount of excuses could cover it up anymore. A police officer arrived to take statements. Victoria's confident facade crumbled completely when faced with the evidence: my documented injuries, the inconsistencies in her stories, and most damning of all, security camera footage from the upstairs hallway that captured the entire incident. Mom sat in the waiting room, her head in her hands, while Victoria was interviewed separately. I could hear her trying to charm the officer, using the same sweet voice that had fooled so many others. But this time, no one was buying it. "Emily," Ms. Martinez said gently, "we're going to recommend you stay with your Aunt Sarah for a while. We've already contacted her, and she's on her way." Aunt Sarah, Mom's younger sister, who Victoria always said was too nosy for her own good. The same aunt who had questioned the bruises she saw at family gatherings, who Victoria made sure was never invited back. "She'll have to go to therapy," I heard Mom protest in the hallway. "This will ruin her future." "Your daughter's future?" Dr. Harrison's voice was sharp. "Or your other daughter's safety." The weight of years of silence lifted from my shoulders. For the first time since Dad left, someone was putting my safety first. The pain in my arm seemed less intense, overshadowed by the relief of finally being heard. Aunt Sarah arrived like a whirlwind, her face a mix of worry and determination. She took one look at my arm, then at Mom's defeated posture and Victoria's tear-streaked face, and her expression hardened. "I knew something was wrong," she said, pulling me into a gentle hug. "I should have pushed harder when I saw the signs." Victoria tried one last time, her voice sweet as honey. "Aunt Sarah, this is all a big misunderstanding. Emily's just upset because—" "Save it," Aunt Sarah cut her off. "The security footage doesn't lie, Victoria. Neither do x-rays." As Aunt Sarah helped me gather my things to leave, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the hospital window. The scared, silent girl who walked in hours ago was gone. In her place stood someone stronger, someone who finally found her voice. Mom watched helplessly as Aunt Sarah led me out, my broken arm a testament to years of hidden abuse. Victoria sat alone in the consultation room, her perfect world crumbling around her. This wasn't the end of the story, but it was the end of my silence. Living with Aunt Sarah was like stepping into a different world. Gone were the constant tensions, the walking on eggshells, the fear of what Victoria might do next. My broken arm healed slowly, but my spirit healed faster. 3 months passed. Victoria was required to attend intensive therapy sessions, and Mom had to participate in parenting classes. I had my own therapy sessions with Dr. Lauren, who helped me understand that none of this was my fault. Aunt Sarah said one morning over breakfast, "Your art teacher called yesterday. She says you're flourishing in class." It was true. Without Victoria's constant criticism or Mom's dismissive attitude, I discovered a talent for painting. My broken arm had forced me to learn to use my left hand, and somehow that challenge had unleashed a creativity I never knew I had. The day of Victoria's court-mandated family therapy session arrived. I hadn't seen her or Mom since leaving the hospital. Dr. Lauren had prepared me for this, but my hands still shook as Aunt Sarah drove me to the counseling center. Victoria looked different. Her perfect blonde hair was pulled back simply, and she seemed smaller somehow, less intimidating. Mom sat beside her, fidgeting with her wedding ring, a nervous habit she'd had since Dad left. "Emily," Victoria spoke first, her voice lacking its usual manipulation. "I'm sorry." The therapist, Dr. Chen, nodded encouragingly. "Victoria has been working on understanding her actions and their impact. Would you like to hear what she has to say?" I took a deep breath and nodded. Victoria's hands twisted in her lap as she spoke. "After Dad left, I was so angry. I blamed everyone, but especially you. You were always so good. Never causing problems, never making Mom cry like I did. I thought if I could make you as miserable as I felt." She paused, wiping tears. "It was wrong. Everything I did was wrong. The therapist helped me see that I was becoming exactly like Dad, hurting people because I was hurt." Mom's intervention came next. "Emily, I failed you," she said, her voice cracking. "I was so afraid of losing another daughter that I let Victoria hurt you. I convinced myself that ignoring it would make it go away. I was wrong, and I'm so sorry." I felt tears rolling down my cheeks. "I needed you to protect me," I whispered. "Both of you. I lost Dad too, but I didn't let it turn me into someone who hurts others." The therapy session was intense but healing. Dr. Chen helped us navigate through years of unspoken pain, fear, and resentment. By the end, something had shifted. "Emily's doing really well in my home," Aunt Sarah spoke up. "She's safe, she's thriving in school, and she's discovering who she is without fear. I think she should stay with me until we're all certain that real change has happened." Mom nodded slowly. "I agree. Victoria and I need to prove we can be trusted again." Victoria reached into her bag and pulled out something wrapped in tissue paper. "I saw your art exhibition at school," she said softly. "You're really talented. I bought this for you." It was a professional art set, high-quality brushes, paints, and canvases. The kind I'd always wanted but never dared to ask for. "I know it doesn't make up for anything," Victoria added quickly. "But I want you to know I see you now. Really see you." 6 months after the hospital incident, I held my first solo art exhibition at school. My featured piece was a series of paintings done with my left hand while my right arm was healing. Abstract works that captured the journey from darkness to light. To my surprise, Victoria and Mom came to the opening. They stood quietly in the background, letting me have my moment without trying to control or diminish it. Aunt Sarah beamed proudly as my art teacher praised my work. "You did this," Victoria said later, studying one of my paintings. "You took something painful and turned it into something beautiful." I looked at my sister, really looked at her, and saw something I'd never seen before. Genuine remorse, and maybe even a hint of admiration. "It's what survivors do," I replied. Mom wiped tears from her eyes as she examined my work. "I see your pain in these paintings," she said softly. "But I also see your strength." Aunt Sarah wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "Should we tell them your news?" I smiled, pulling out an envelope. I got accepted into the summer art program at the state university, full scholarship. Victoria's face showed no jealousy, only pride. "That's amazing, Emily." As we stood there surrounded by my art, I realized that sometimes broken things can be rebuilt stronger than before. My arm had healed, my family was healing, and I had found my voice not just in words, but in colors and shapes that told my story of survival. The security camera that captured Victoria's push had revealed more than just physical abuse. It had exposed the cracks in our family that needed to be repaired. And while the healing wasn't perfect or complete, it was real. I was no longer the silent victim. I was an artist, a survivor, and finally truly free.